Hello, this is Pastor Steve West, and this is September the 23rd, 2020. Thanks for joining me for my midweek devotional this week. Have you ever heard of an animal whisperer? An animal whisperer. Now, it's a phrase I'd never heard before 15, 20 years ago, something like that. I think it was created by a dog behaviorist or something. Now, animal whispering doesn't mean talking to animals. It's more of the art, so to speak, of people who are in tune with what the animal's going through. And now there's some people that dismiss animal whispering as pet psychics and things like that. I don't really believe all of it, but I'm just saying there's this thing called animal whispering, and I was thinking about that today because if it is really listening to the needs of another, maybe there's something to that. And the reason I thought of that is during my morning devotions, in which I've been using to bless the space between us, a book of Celtic blessings, I ran across this phrase in my reading for today, and it said this blessing: may you arise each day with a voice of blessing whispering in your heart. May you arise each day with a voice of blessing whispering in your heart. Maybe the God we serve is a soul whisperer, because I do believe God listens very deeply to our needs and responds. When it comes to soul whispering, the soul whispering of God, I think about the story, probably the most famous story of the whisper of God, comes from 1 Kings chapter 19. It's the story of Elijah. He had been very zealous for the love of God, for the love of the Lord, and was receiving major pressure from Jezebel. To make a long story short, he escaped to the mountains, and when he was in the mountains, there was this powerful moment where it says that God passed by. When God passed by, there was a strong wind, but God was not in the wind. And then there was an earthquake, but God was not in the earthquake. And then there was a fire, but God was not in the fire. And then there was a still small voice, or the whisper of God. When you're going through storms, and when you're going through earthquakes, when you're going through fires, whether literally or figuratively, we think, where is God in this? Perhaps God is in the still small voice, the whispers of the soul. God is our soul whisperer. I've become just about convinced, I wrote this down in my journal, God never shouts. God rarely speaks. God sometimes knocks, but God always whispers. Think about that. God never shouts. God rarely speaks. God sometimes knocks, but God always whispers. We serve a great soul whisperer. What is he whispering to your soul today? Let me read that blessing to us once again. May you arise each day with a voice of blessing whispering in your heart. As I was praying through this morning, I thought I'd just pause and listen and hear whatever there was to hear. And immediately I heard a bird singing outside my window. And I thought to myself, the animals are whispering, or in this case, whistling, the glory of God. May you arise each day with a voice of blessing whispering in your heart. You might not be able to hear God's voice in the midst of the storm, but God's going to be whispering, because God is our soul whisperer. And he whispers words of hope, words of love, words of joy, words of peace, and most of all, words of his presence. So may that give you a little something to think about this week, in the middle of the week. And may you have a great rest of the week. In Jesus' holy name.